Fantasy Football Waiver Wire Week 17, Trey, Benson, Olamide, Zaccheaus, and Chigoziem Okonkwo among top targets. Week 17 is upon us, meaning it's championship week for the vast majority of fantasy leagues. If you've advanced to your league's championship, congratulations, but there's no time to celebrate your success. It's time to regroup and move on to the first item on the Week 17 to-do list. Filing waiver claims. If you lost a player to an injury last week or are just sick of a particular player underperforming, chances are you'll have to head to the waiver wire to find a replacement. It's less than ideal, but starter-level production can be found on waivers if you identify strong matchups and players with elevated opportunity within their offense. Last week, we provided names like Tyjae Spears and Jerome Ford as strong waiver pickups. Both of these players went on to find the end zone in Week 16 and were very strong fantasy producers overall. We'll be looking to provide another strong batch of candidates as you prepare to file waiver claims for Week 17. Top fantasy football waiver wire pickups for Week 17, Trey, Benson, Olamide, Zaccheaus, and Chigoziem Okonkwo are among the best adds. Ray Benson, RB, Arizona Cardinals, 18% rostered. The Cardinals' running back room is limping into Week 17. Trey Benson is already dealing with an ankle injury, but James Conner suffered a knee injury last week against the Panthers. If Benson can make his way back to the field, he'd be Arizona's lead back in Conner's absence. He should be rostered while monitoring Arizona's injury report this week. FAB recommendation: 20 to 25% of your budget. Olamide, Zaccheaus, WR, Washington Commanders, 0% rostered. Olamide Zaccheaus is coming off his best game of the year, scoring 24 PPR points on a 5/70/2 stat line. While this sort of production is surprising for Zaccheaus, it's not surprising to see him taking on a larger role in the Washington offense. In 2 games without Noah Brown, Zaccheaus ranks second on the team in targets. Against an up-and-down Atlanta defense, Zaccheaus can be an emergency flex option in hopes that he can see some red zone targets once again. FAB recommendation: 5 to 10% of your budget. Chigoziem Okonkwo, Tennessee Titans, 6% rostered. Chigoziem, Okonkwo has been getting peppered with targets in recent weeks. He's now seen 21 targets in the last 2 weeks, racking up 17 receptions and 33 PPR points in these games. Okonkwo is settling in as Mason Rudolph's safety blanket, and a high-volume role allows him to be a legitimate T1 option. FAB recommendation: 5 to 10% of your budget. Who are the top quarterback waiver wire targets? Bryce Young, Carolina Panthers, 7% rostered. It's been a rocky month or so for Bryce Young. He's played the best football of his career in some games, while turning the ball over 4 times in another. He's coming off one of his stronger performances last week against the Cardinals, throwing for 2 touchdowns while tacking on 68 yards and a score on the ground. He's an intriguing streamer with the poorest Tampa Bay defense on the schedule this week. FAB recommendation: 2 to 5% of your budget. Who are the other top running back waiver wire targets? Gus Edwards, Los Angeles Chargers, 48% rostered. Gus Edwards may have ripped off a 43-yard run last week, but it's still quite clear that his fantasy value is almost exclusively driven by his role as the Chargers' goal line back. Luckily for Edwards, Justin Herbert is playing at an incredibly high level and just picked apart the Broncos, one of the league's most talented defenses. There's a very real possibility that Edwards will be provided with multiple goal line carries again this week. FAB recommendation: 10 to 15% of your budget. Kendre Miller, New Orleans Saints, 46% rostered. Alvin Kamara missed Week 16, and it wouldn't be shocking if he shut down for the rest of the season. If that's the case, Kendre Miller will handle the majority of touches for the Saints this week. Miller would be an RB2 option against a feast-or-famine Raiders defense. The game will likely be ugly, but Miller can certainly deliver a top 24 performance if he's given a large enough workload. FAB recommendation: 20 to 25% of your budget. Who are the other top wide receiver waiver wire target? Keyshawn Bout, New England Patriots, 3% rostered. Along with Hunter Henry, Keyshawn Bout has emerged as one of the top pass catchers in the New England offense. He's now earned 6+ targets in 6 of his last 8 games. Bout's consistent role is now translating into fantasy production, and he posted a season-high 20.5 PPR points last week. If he can draw downfield targets from Drake May, Bout could deliver yet another big day. FAB recommendation: 2 to 5% of your budget. Robert Woods, Houston Texans, 0% rostered. After Tank Dell suffered a frightening knee injury, Robert Woods stepped up for the Texans, drawing 4 targets while running 58% of the routes. If John Mechie remains sidelined, Woods will likely hold a full-time role alongside Nico Collins and Xavier Hutchinson. Woods will offer a reasonable floor in a favorable matchup against the Ravens.